Yeah,
Yeah.
10 years. I haven't charged a client. I train everyone for free, but I've made millions. And I bought my mom a house, my dad a house, my sister a
Wow.
house. I still pay their property taxes, their utilities.
Hello, my name is Elyssa C. Welcome to Proper Names and Backstory. Today I am here joined with.
The glute guy, glute poppy, the glute father, the glute god,
But hit me with your proper name.
Bret Contreras.
Okay, and today Brett and I are going to be talking about his journey into the fitness industry, as well as how he went from a math high school teacher to this world renowned best glute trainer in the world. And we're just really going to be delving into his whole process on how he got his name out, as well as his transition from high school teacher to the fitness industry.
Thank you. Let's do it.
Tell me about your current position, what you're doing right now as a job.
This is always a tough one because I feel like now in the era of social media, it's hard to describe my job because I'm a personal trainer, but I don't make any money from personal training. I haven't charged anyone for 10 years. But yeah, I'm a personal trainer. Luckily, I did well on social media and I make my money off of Booty by Bret. That's my online subscription program. But I also have BC Strength, that's my equipment company. And then I make some money off royalties from books and products and stuff like that from patents that I have. But I would probably say 85% of my money comes from Booty by Bret. It's just but it's like I don't have to do that much for Booty by Bret. My real job is training people, coming up with the best programs for building glutes, and always trying to be innovative and scientific. And so that involves reading research, training other people, and training myself.
Okay, and so you mentioned that you have a lot of different businesses kind of going on for you. Is that something that you knew you wanted to profit off of, or you just got into the fitness world and it kind of came with it?
You know, as I came up in the industry, I heard, like, I never read business books or anything like that.
Yeah.
I read stuff on strength training. I'm obsessed with lifting weights and the biomechanics behind it, and you know, anatomy and physiology and functional anatomy, and applying mathematics and physics to solve problems in the gym. I love strength training. As I came up in the industry, people said you should have multiple revenue streams. And that always made a lot of sense to me. I thought, how cool would it be to have making money while you sleep?
Yeah.
I remember when I wrote my first ebook, I would wake up, I'd be like, oh my God, it was like $30. I sold 3 ebooks while I was sleeping. I made $90 while I was sleeping. And, but as the years went on, I found myself um, decreasing my revenue streams because I feel like you can get so distracted as a fitness person who's popular. I could have a podcast, I could do seminars, I could have a supplement line, I could sell equipment, I can sell programs, I can do real life personal training, I can do online coaching, um, I could write ebooks, there's so many ways to make money. And I'm telling you, I've seen this happen to my friends. You get too greedy and you burn out and you don't do a good job at any one of them. So as time went on, I said, look, I have a team with BC Strength. They do most of the stuff. I have, and I have a team with Booty by Bret who does most of the stuff too. But I want to always be the best. I want to be the best coach possible. I think I'm the best coach in the entire world, the
Yeah.
best personal trainer. But how do I stay at the top? How do I remain the best? I've got to be training a lot of people. What's nice, if you don't have to charge for personal training, is they'll come very frequently. So some of my clients come 3, some even 5 days a week. So I get a lot of practice with them, a lot of time with them. We can experiment. I can learn. I can tinker with their program design and learn from that and come up with solutions. I need to be lifting weights myself. I need to be reading research, conducting experiments, and that way I'll always be at the top.
I had read prior that you have a PhD and you've done a lot of research. What made you even get into wanting a PhD? And was that something that you just wanted to do on your own, or you thought like, getting a PhD would help further my business, or kind of all the above?
Great question. I never thought I was smart enough to get a PhD.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got good grades, but I wasn't like honors. I wasn't like an honors student. I wanted to get a PhD because I didn't like not knowing the answer. I started blogging back in 2009, and people would ask me scientific questions, and I'm like, I don't know. I want to give a good answer, but I don't know enough. I never wanted to become a research professor.
Hmm.
Um, I like being in the gym too much. But the PhD was nice because it taught me how to think critically. And I
Okay.
ended up publishing 50 studies or like 52.
Wow. It's a lot of research.
I have a good team of helpers. Like, I'm not good on my own at research. I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best at statistics, but my friends are. So we collaborate. So everything is always a team approach.
Okay, so for the researchers, was it just networking, or you were just fortunate enough to like, have friends that happened to be researchers?
Networking. I met my good friend Brad Schoenfeld. He's the best. He's the top hypertrophy researcher in the world. My supervisor, John Cronin, he was my PhD supervisor, and then a couple other guys that were just whizzes.
Yeah.
I lucked out because I used to not have any friends in the industry. And then as the years went on, I picked up more and more, colleagues, and everything's easier when you have the right friends.
Yeah, and so to meet those friends, were you going out to events?
Brad Schoenfeld, he's regarded as the world's expert on muscle growth, muscle hypertrophy. I met him in 2010 because he published an article, this classic review paper on bodybuilding and muscle growth. And I just emailed him. When you publish a paper, there's always the author's email on there. I
Mhm.
emailed him and said, like, holy crap, this is amazing. I've been waiting for an article like this for years. I've been wanting someone to summarize all the research on muscle growth. And I said, I'd love to interview you for this website I was writing for at the time. It was called T Nation, which stood for Testosterone Nation. Um, and he said, yeah, let's do it. I sent him the questions. He sent me the answers back within 2 hours. And I was like, oh my God, this is really scientific. Like, he knows this stuff so well. And I was like, man, at that time, I had a bunch of colleagues. We would interview each other, and it would take us 2 weeks to get back to the person.
Yeah.
And this guy's in a different league. I'm like, I need to be friends with this guy. I'm swimming in this stream over here. I want to be in, the adult pool. I want to be
Yeah.
in this new circle. So we hit it off, and we became best buds. Now, John Cronin, same thing. He published a study, and I emailed him, and I said, man, this is awesome. It was a debate about sprint. What helps you sprint faster? Increase vertical force or horizontal force. And to me, it was so obvious. If you want to go faster that way, you have to put more force in the ground that way. And I was arguing with the track and field experts, and I'm like, this is like basic physics. But they had their reasons. And he published a study showing evidence of what I believed.
Mhm.
And so I wrote him just saying, like, hell yeah, this is amazing. Like, been waiting for this research I've been battling the track and field coaches. This will help me, give me the edge. And then it turns out he's a professor in New Zealand. I ended up getting my PhD from him. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And then the other two guys, Chris Beardsley, Andrew Vygotsky. Chris Beardsley was just writing the best blogs in the industry. And I'm like, who even are you? I emailed him. Who are you? Like, tell me your stories. Like, I'm in mergers and acquisitions, but I can like retire now. But I'd love to have like a side job to help me. I love this stuff. I love strength and conditioning. I read like crazy, and we partnered up on a research review together. The other guy, Andrew Vygotsky, replied to one of my newsletters saying, I'm looking to take on an intern. And I chose him. And it's so funny because I remember him the first year I knew him. I go, one day, he's like, you're like, he complimented me, like, you're smart, you're helping me. And I'm like, I've got about one more year where I can help you. And then you're
Yeah.
going to be smarter than me. And you're going to look back in a few years and be like, man, this guy's so dumb compared to me, because he's a genius. He's a literal genius.
Mhm.
Like, taught himself. I mean, he's like top notch. He knows more than like PhDs in statistics, and he didn't even get his degree in statistics. He taught himself that. He took he retook like calculate all the calculus courses in physics just to brush up on it. Like this guy's next level. But I'm so proud of myself because before I entered the industry, I was a high school math teacher. I had not a single colleague, not one friend. And then when I jumped into the industry, you know, 5 years later, I know everyone. I have
Yeah.
all the friends, and I credit them for really helping me with my career.
Was there ever a time where you've reached out to people and they've either offered you like negative feedback or didn't even reach back out to you or didn't believe in you?
So it's 2009, Long Beach, Perform Better seminar, and all my idols were speaking at the Perform Better seminar. See, I didn't idolize actors or athletes. I idolized the strength coaches at that time who were writing for T Nation, who were speaking for Perform Better. They were all my idols. And I went to the conference, but I had done all this research, I'd done all these experiments, published them, wrote up these nice reports, and then I went to each of their talks, each of their presentations, and I waited till afterwards, and I went up to them and gave them a report, and they must have been like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Calls himself the glute guy, and like I basically said, I've done all this research on the glutes, and I want you to check it out. I've come up with a bunch of new exercises, and they all I could tell they all just thought I was an idiot, and I followed up with them, and um, just I don't know. I kind of feel like they were threatened
Yeah.
because there was the old way of doing things, and then I'm coming in and shaking it up. But I remember this really popular guy. His name's Gray Cook. He's like, you got all these coaches out there trying to load up an activation exercise, talking about the hip thrust. He's like, the the glute bridge is a body weight activation drill that you use to activate the glutes, and and then you then you use it for activation, and then you do like a more complex exercise like a squat or a deadlift, and then you theoretically use your glutes more. It's an activation movement. You don't load up activation movements. And I'm like trying to tell him, like, I've been doing this for, imagine me, I've been doing this exercise for 2 years with
Yeah.
my, actually 3 years, well, 2.5 years with my clients. We've been doing them. Their glutes have been growing, but I think they were used to being the experts back then. They were used to giving advice, not learning anything, especially from some kid they've never heard of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, okay, speaking of activation, if you do a body weight hip thrust, it gets you to 26% of your maximum glute activation. If you do if I do a 405-pound hip thrust, I get to over 100% of my maximum voluntary glute activation that I can do with no weight.
Mhm.
So yeah, like clearly one's going to be better for muscle growth than the other. Like resistance is going to be better, but he was so dismissive of me. Um, Later on, their financial guru was like, he was trying to drum up business for himself, and I saw him at the social, and he was like, what's your hobby, son? Or, oh no, sorry, what's your passion, son? And I said, the glutes. He goes, no, that's a hobby. You'll never make money from that.
Yeah.
um you need that's a fine hobby to have, but you won't make money off of that. And I remember thinking, you have no idea. Glutes are going to be I'm going to make this niche so huge and so um yeah, so popular. I just knew it. Don't be so explosive. Control it. Sit down. Yes. Give a big stretch. Also, one of the guys had wrote an article a couple years later. His name was Eric Kress, and he said, and in the article he said, I got approached a couple years back by this nerdy guy who was speaking all this scientific mumbo jumbo, and I didn't pay him a second thought. And then I got on the plane, and it was a couple hour flight, and I had nothing to do. I pulled out his report. I started reading it, and he's a lot more succinct in his writing than he is in his talking, and so he made sense. And I tried his stuff, and we started doing it at my gym, and he trains baseball players. My guys started saying that I feel like I'm running faster to first base. My sprint acceleration is improving, and he's like, I got to hand it to the guy. He knew his stuff, but when he met me, he was very dismissive too. So
Bringing this back, you had mentioned earlier about you said a high school teacher, yeah? How was that transition from high school? Were you just over high school and you're like, fitness is more of my area, or?
Yeah, I was a high school math teacher from I think the year 2000 to 2006, and I was a talented math teacher. Like I got my master's degree in
Yeah.
education. I came up with a block course. Actually, it was weight training, and it was anatomy
Hmm.
and physiology and weight training. I could only get approved for the problem kids, the kids who got kicked out. It
Yeah.
was the alternative school. It was all the kids who got kicked out of other schools.
What the? What the?
And the principal was like, Brett, the only time these kids are good is when they're in your class because they don't want to get kicked out of weights.
Mhm.
But I remember one time being like, taking this. The principal walked in and she's like evaluating me, and she said something. I go, pick a student, and she picked this like kid known for being a troublemaker. And I go, okay, tell him what's your favorite exercise? The deadlift. Okay, tell him what joint actions are involved in a deadlift. Well, you got, you know, knee extension, hip extension, and then and I'm like, what muscles does it work? Well, knee extension is the quadriceps, hip extension is the hamstrings, adductors, and gluteus maximus, but you've also got the erectors contracting and the lats isometrically to keep the back braced, and you've got the forearm muscles contracting, the upper traps. Like it's actually a full body exercise.
Yeah.
But anyway, the principal was like, I am so impressed that these kids could actually value learning anything. But I would pace back and forth after class because back then in 2000 when I started, the starting pay for a teacher in Scottsdale School District was 29,000. Like I
Oh,
wasn't even
that's,
making 30
yeah.
grand. Yeah, yeah,
I'm making more than that now.
yeah. I would pace back and forth after school, being like, I don't know why. I just thought, how cool would it be to make 100 grand a year? And I was like, I just wish someone discovered me, like someone like rich, and they'd be like, I want you to work for me. That's what I would dream of.
I
Like,
dream about that all the
yeah. So I just, hey,
time.
you'd be an asset to me. I want to hire you for 100 grand a year, doing whatever. And I would pace back and forth, and then I remember when I was getting my master's degree in education and curriculum instruction, I turned in a project, and I worked so hard on this project. I was so passionate about it. And my professor called me on the phone. Now, this was like probably 2005. So
Mhm.
it's 20 years ago. I can't there's no record of this teacher. It's like she never existed. I've went to ASU and tried to find her name cuz she changed my life, and
Mm.
she can't be found. It's there's no records of her at ASU. Like, how do you not have records of who taught a course for
I know.
you?
I've tried to look up one of my teachers before at UCI too, and I'm like, I just took
Really?
you last year, and I can't find you anywhere.
From a
But
year ago. Oh
I know.
God. Okay. But anyway, this lady changed my life. She called me up on the phone. She said, Brett, I have no doubt that you're a good math teacher, but clearly your passion is exercise science, strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
Life is too short to waste not pursuing your passion.
Mhm.
And I couldn't stop thinking about that. I could not stop thinking about it. And I thought about that nonstop. And so I thought, yeah, all my high school kids, all the boys will want to train with me. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", 235 pounds. They're gonna want to be my clients.
Mhm.
All the basketball players, the football players, the wrestlers. Like, and the funniest thing happened when I started training people. It was all women that came to me. Tap though, come down, tap. Oh yes, tap, squeeze. You think that'd be easy to get 10 clients? This was before social media.
Yeah, it must be so hard.
It
Even
was hard
now,
for
I feel
me.
like
I
it's
mean,
hard.
it only happened back then through word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at a gym, I was training them out of my garage.
Mhm.
So it took me like a whole year to get 10 clients. And then once I got 10 clients, I rented a space in Scottsdale. My first gym was called Lifts, and the rest is history. I want to be a strength coach for um, a male sports team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'd be so fun to do one year. But I
Start with.
specialize in training women, and that's what made me a fortune in life.
Well, you know what? I did soccer growing up. my little brother was training with a strength and conditioning trainer, and he started off small, but everybody in soccer knew him, and that's who he'd go to. And now he's actually training for a professional team.
I think my 12 years of soccer training for this, I haven't played soccer in like 5 years. So I have 3 sprained ankles. Let's see how this goes.
Is there a time where you're like, I just want to get rid of social media and not do this, or you really honestly love doing social media and getting your word out?
So social media is kind of a double-edged sword. Like I'm not gonna lie, I love getting recognized.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
One
No,
time,
just
well,
kidding.
one time, who wouldn't? Right? One time I was with my friend Natalia Mello. She won the very second Miss Bikini Olympia. She's Brazilian. We're at a seminar together, and someone goes, "Oh my God, Bret Contreras, will you autograph my shirt?" And I'm like, "Sure, of course." And I autograph, and she goes, "God, doesn't this just like drive you crazy?" And I looked at her, and I go, "No, no, I live for this. Like, it's only at fitness conferences I feel like a celebrity.
Hmm.
If I'm at a fitness conference, I get mobbed,
Yeah.
and people are like, I love it. It's because being a celebrity, there's aspects to it that would suck.
Yeah.
You lose your independence. You can't
Like Justin
go.
Bieber.
Yeah, Justin Bieber can't just go to the mall. You
Yeah.
know, he get mobbed. But this is the perfect amount of when you're an internet celebrity, a social media influencer. You get recognized.
Hmm.
You're with like family, or if you start dating a new girl, and someone's like, "Oh my God, Bret Contreras," and you're like, they walk away, and they're like, "Does that happen all the time?" And you're like, I just love the people. It makes you look so cool. I love the people. I love helping out. And then
Yeah.
they're like, oh my God, I'm with he's famous. And I love it. It makes me look so cool. It makes me feel so good. However, it's not like you get mobbed or like, it's just the right amount of popularity for me.
Hmm.
You have to learn once you get popular, you get torn apart, especially on like Reddit. You go on Reddit, oh my God, you think you're the worst human on the planet, you know? So you have to develop thick skin. And it's funny because I don't
Hmm.
like reading about me being talked about in a
Yeah.
negative light.
Hmm.
Also, just pretend you have the answer for everything.
Yeah.
Be the expert on every topic and form a hard stance, a hard opinion on everything. That's not being scientific, but that's what the most popular people just pretend. Because I read more research than all of them.
Hmm.
The really really popular science guys, and I'm like, they don't know the answer to that. They're pretending.
Hmm.
It's an act.
Well, yeah, especially with AI now too.
Not just AI. TikTok's so bad. You get
I
all these
know.
20,
Well,
23-year-olds and telling you everything, and you watch them, and they actually think they know more than the top
yeah,
scientists in the field.
kind of reminds me of Elizabeth. No, I'm kidding. No, I was talking to one of my nurses, and someone similar to you, not fitness, but in the doctor industry, and I think he has like 1 million followers too. And she was like, yeah, like I'm dating him, and he actually uses Chat GPT to generate all of his answers, even though he's a doctor. Because
Hmm.
doctors have certain specializations that they really like, hone in on, but the rest of the, broad like skin stuff or, whatever you name it, if it's not in their specialty, she was like, yeah, a lot of them just look up on AI and
Because
see what the
being a
answer is.
PhD, like AI is wrong a lot.
Yeah.
My sister was reading me something, and I'm like, Carolyn, that's actually wrong. Like, it's saying this, but there's no evidence of that.
I know, yeah.
ChatGPT will fill in the gaps when there's
Mhm.
not evidence to it. So it's not where it needs to be.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't. So basically, that pretend you know everything, be at the center of everything, and you'll make a lot more money. But you'll
Yeah,
have to read about yourself.
all the time.
Yeah, like I actually get charged up if you're telling me about like your landlord treating you unfairly. I just met you, and I'll be like, that piece of shit. Like that's how I am in real life.
Yeah.
I'm just so and people love it when they're going through a problem because I'll get madder than they do.
Yeah, just
But then
passionate.
I'm always like, I'm just so charismatic. Like I'm really high energy. It's
Yeah.
exhausting. I want to be I want everyone to have a good time, so I'm trying to have fun, and I'm teasing everyone, and I'm being loud, and I'm um yeah, as a personal trainer, it's actually like I feel like I have a good system for making 20 people feel,
Yeah,
but
hyped
yeah,
up. Yeah.
you try to motivate them and push them. Sometimes I tease them, but they know, like, yeah, I better do better or Bret's going to stop paying so much attention to me. You have to find ways to really push them and make them, I don't know, it's hard to explain. My point is I have personality defects, and you would not know about that. How would you know? You don't
Yeah.
see
Every
social media is a highlight reel. But then on the other hand, I've read about myself in some areas, and I'm like, they'll act like I'm the worst human on the planet. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Jesus, I wish they knew I haven't charged a client in 10 years now. Yeah,
Yeah.
10 years I haven't charged a client. I train everyone for free. But also, it's what I do with my money. I never, like, I wear jorts, flip flops, and tank tops. I drive a Toyota Tacoma. Um, but I've made millions, and I bought my mom a house, my dad a house, my sister a
Wow.
house. I still pay their property taxes, their utilities, and I spoil my squad. I take them all out and pay for the dinners, and just, if you're in my life and you're close to me, I want to help. I want to pay it forward. I want to help you. I
Yeah.
employ probably, I don't even know, 15 to 20 friends and family members.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't seek out the best possible person for the job. I wanted to
Yeah.
help my friends,
Yeah.
and I'm not the strictest boss. I'm pretty lenient. My point is, it was never about making the most money in life. It was about, pursuing my passion and trying to spread my methods. And then over time, I learned how to monetize that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but the drive to monetize it wasn't to drive Lamborghinis and have, crazy parties. And
Yeah.
I liked partying in my 20s and early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Never got into drugs, but I did drink a lot. Like, I was a partier. Do not do drugs and end up like me.
Okay.
And then you just get sick of it. You get sick of being hungover.
Yeah.
You don't want to be hungover. You want to be productive on your Saturday and Sunday. So
Yeah.
I quit drinking, but I still like being social and having fun, and I like entertaining. So the younger crowd, like I was, they want to go out, they want to be
Mm-hmm.
social. So I get out of my comfort zone and do all that. But yeah, I've tried to be very generous with my money. So with everyone you meet, once you get to know them, there's two sides.
For sure.
Everyone has their good qualities and their bad qualities. But yeah, social media requires you need thick skin,
Mm-hmm.
and the more you're willing to put yourself out there, the more money you can make, but the more criticism you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I can tell you a couple of the guys in the industry who used to be very respected. Now they get trashed because also once you get really popular, people just hate you because you're popular.
Mm-hmm.
They're just jealous,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about kind of like your life being put out there?
I never had a cell phone until I was 28.
Really?
Yeah, I was anti. I didn't.
You're like unstatus.
Yes. Everyone knew, like, I can't be gotten a hold of. And I never, social media, I was like, this is stupid. And then, yeah, I wrote an article for Teen Nation, and a guy called me up and he goes, dude, I read your article. You should start a blog. It was this guy, Mark Young, random guy. I still see him on Facebook from time to time, but he called me up and said, you should start a blog. And I go, my friends would murder me. My friends will kill me if I blog. Like, that sounds so nerdy.
Yeah.
Blogger. I'm a blogger. And then you need to start social media. You need to start using YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. I dove in.
Yes. Okay.
Am I done?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so you had invented a hip thrust, is that correct?
So the year was 2006,
Okay.
October 10th. I'm watching the UFC fights. And it's so funny because it's so hard for the younger generation who now is exposed to social media. You guys, the younger people watching this right now, are like, how would you ever know if someone invented an exercise?
Yeah.
You probably think that. How would you know if you
No,
invented it?
I all the time.
Yeah.
I just think I don't even think. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it just happened. Like,
Well, like,
it just-
how would you know? Everyone's doing stuff.
yeah, but there's
But
science behind it. for
back then, 2006 was different. We didn't have social media yet.
sure. Mhm.
People wrote for magazines and websites.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I mentioned T Nation earlier. The creme de la creme wrote for T Nation. The best personal trainers and strength coaches in the world wrote for that website. And we knew who invented everything because, well, I should put it this way. You didn't get credit for it if you didn't put it out there. Why would you get credit for it? But it was those coaches who were putting information out there, because if you come up with an idea and never share it with anyone, why would it get popular?
Mhm.
But if you write an article about it or post a blog post about it, so we knew who invented things and we knew who popularized things,
Yep.
We knew that Dan John invented the goblet squat. You won't find anyone doing it before him. We know there wasn't that much videos and articles to sift through.
Mhm.
And so back when I invented it in 2006, everyone knew I invented the hip thrust. Now, we did glute bridges. We did like body weight stuff, but not loaded heavy barbell hip thrust with a bar in your lap with a padded barbell.
Mhm.
That's what I invented. And, I was watching UFC fights. I see these two guys fight. I'm like, why isn't the one guy bucking the other off? Get him off of you.
Bow.
Why is he not even trying to get him off of him? Like, there should be an exercise you should do to strengthen that motion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can't be like, how do you add weight to it? Well, you could have a guy straddle you, but that would not be accepted in a gym. Like, hey, bro, can you sit on my lap and I'm going to thrust you for 30 reps? So I was like, could you use a barbell? No, that would hurt. If you had a pad to the barbell, it doesn't hurt. And okay, that's a short range of motion off the ground.
Mhm.
What if you elevated your back? What if you elevated your feet? You could go deeper.
Yeah.
So when I thought of it, I went out to my garage, gave it a try, and I felt my glutes burn. Like, I felt them working so hard. And I felt like for the first time, I'm finishing this set when my glutes can no longer, squats. I like squats and deads, but I did not feel that way when I did squats and deadlifts and lunges.
Yeah.
So I just thought this is a really good exercise. This is going to be, and I knew it. I did one set. I walked out into my front yard, looked up in the sky and said, from this point forward, I'm going to spend the rest of my life getting this exercise to be as popular as humanly possible. And that's exactly what I've done.
I showed Jeremy your dancing video. Yeah.
How was getting your word across? For
So
hip
that
thrust?
was
it
hard because I
Yeah.
started writing but here's the deal. I always had the before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to say? In 2009, I start writing and I'm like, look at my results. And what are you going to say? This doesn't work?
Yeah.
Like, this girl's butt was flat and now it's round. So that's what saved me.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't just theoretical. I'm a real trainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm getting amazing results. So those results were what piqued everyone's interest. It's like, you can't ignore this.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. I remember back, I was the only glute guy for a decade.
Mhm.
So there was no competition. So any woman out there looking to follow a glute plan followed my plan.
Yeah.
I was getting tagged like 30 times a day. Now I don't get tagged once.
Mhm.
It's a different world now. People don't credit anyone anymore.
Yeah.
Back then, no one was trying to be a glute person or an influencer. So they bought my programs and they would tag me. Oh my God, I'm seeing such great results. But I remember like my first book, Strong Curves. I had so many, and I had so many, and then I've trained so many people in my life. I have probably 100 before and after pictures that from people I've trained in real life that are remarkable, and probably 1,000 from people who've done my programs over the years that are like insane.
Mhm.
With probably 10 of them being like, that's not even believable. That's got to be surgery or something,
BBL.
But this was before BBLs were a thing.
Yeah.
This was like 2015, they weren't.
Mhm.
So that always was like, people couldn't ignore it. It was someone else if I got a responsible buyer. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to sell.
Is there any advice that you would give anybody either wanting to become big on social media or even just in the fitness industry too? Do you have any like advice for anybody?
The economy is down right now. It's hard.
For sure.
There's a lot of desperation out there. People worried about making a living.
For sure.
So that you can compromise yourself. I'm very well respected as a scientist, as a science-based, evidence-based practitioner. I love having the respect. I could have made, like I said, I could have made a lot more money over the years, but I would not have the respect that I have. I wouldn't sleep as well, and I wouldn't have the colleagues that I have. They would have distanced themselves from me if they thought I was being unscientific. So my point being, life is not just about making money. It's about kind of this combination of you want to make money, you want to be popular, having followers is cool, making money is cool, being influential is cool, but it's this blend of like, yeah, don't just do everything to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
Think about the long term and how you want to be remembered and how you can sleep well at night. Like I can go to sleep at night saying I've worked hard to put out good information to help people. It was always about helping people to the most degree possible, and not being selfish with my information, and just trying to share good methods with the world. And I just have this philosophy, like I've got a lot of friends and colleagues and family members. Now that I'm doing well, I want to be a net positive in people's lives.
Yeah.
I'm here to see what I can do for you. I'm here to help other people. That is my mission. And it's not about if I make money along the way, great. Money's cool, but it's not all about the money. It's not all about the, clickbaity making as much money as possible at the expense of watering down your standards and your material. So it's hard to think of that when you're starting out, when you do anything to be making six figures or, to get to the million mark. Like I've seen people sell their souls to the devil along the way, and I don't know how they live with themselves, but I would never want my industry matters to me. It always has. I love my industry. I love that I have respect from people, and I love that I have friends in the industry who lifelong friendships that I've formed.
My car, basically same model, except this is Elizabeth's car.
Hot girls hit curves.
Bro, how many curves?